what can we do
Community.
to jump in ahead of time? There's lots of things we can do after you've got them in your system, and you can identify who they are and identify who the 20% is that needs the help. And what can we do to begin with to keep them from ever going into that system?
I think that we need to take some of this correction, the $2 million and give to our schools over here and let the coach come up with some kind of after school, have something where they can come work, where he can
school.
hire all of them, where he can give them a little job after school or something like that. Keep them around.
That's what I
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, we can also, I would say, start in the community. We can identify one community and call it our pilot community, where you make the people take ownership in the community. This is my block. Garbage is not gonna be here. Pick it up. If I see you throw it, I'm gonna write you a ticket. Just a little paper thing, but it's gonna mean something after a while. It's not gonna mean anything at first. But it says to the people in the community, we're gonna do this as a collective. And once we get our street, start with one street, right? Get our street clean, we're gonna move over to the next street in the neighborhood and to the next one. And eventually we will have one complete neighborhood where everybody's back on the same page. I'm looking out for you, you're looking out for me. As crazy as it sounds, you can tell when a different car comes in your neighborhood before you even see the tag. I don't care how large the city is. You know an out-of-town car. Don't know how it occurs, but there's something that goes off in you when a strange car comes in your neighborhood. So if we start identifying those types of things, cleaning up the neighborhood first. If you have a vacant property next door, it's okay. We'll all get together. We're gonna clean that area up. You know, I'm in North Jackson. There's an empty house next to me that's been empty 9 years. We cut that grass every time we cut the grass in our yard. When the hedges get up, we cut them. So it's an abandoned property, but it doesn't have to look like an abandoned property. We have to care about where we live.
What we have been doing at our Credible Messenger Summit, meetings or whatever, we be looking at the crime data in the city of Jackson. So far, crime been going up since our last meeting. We haven't one tonight. We was looking at like 39209 was like the highest crime rate in the city. And it's the biggest zip code in the city too. It's like West Jackson and South Jackson. So we was planning on putting our center over there, where it's most at, where the crime most at, because, crime populate mainly in poverty areas, where people feel like like she said, they ain't got no hope. Bandos next door, looking rough, people having just a gloom about themselves over there, So that's all I was saying. I just want to touch on that. That's what we plan on putting our first base, our Credible Messenger base in West Jackson, where, crime area is most highly, the highest at.
Yeah. I think we've talked a lot about self-worth, respect, things like that, and some of these values that are just absolutely missing in today's society. Coach, you've got to have those kind of things to win ball games. And although you said winning's not the most important thing, I know your boss wants you to bring home a win every once in a while. But you've got to have that instilled in your team to be able to win ball games. Do you find that you have to kind of raise these kids after you get them?
To a certain extent, I feel like I do. And because of my upbringing of having a father who was a disciplinarian, who gave me a great example, and throughout my life, growing up through elementary, middle school, and high school, and even college, I've always encountered coaches that helped build upon that. But my foundation was good. So with that, my thing is to be the best example of my examples. So I have a little bit of my father. I have a little bit of Coach Collins, Coach Sherrod, Coach Wade Brown. I have all those guys in my head and in my mind. And a lot of times when I come to situations with kids, I revert back to what I think they would do and how I should handle a certain situation with a kid. So you have to get on them. You have to be hard on them. You have to be disciplined. And some of these kids, they troubled kids, but they have a chance. You give them a chance, and you don't want to just cut them off the first time. And things like that I learned from Coach Collins. As far as, he'd tell me, like, I had to cut a kid one time, but my intentions was to cut him to see how bad he really wanted it. And when he came back, I accepted him back. And that was the whole game in the beginning anyway. So they have to learn that. And in my position, kids that are in the neighborhoods that don't have a lot to do, football is an outlet. And sometimes you have a lot of kids, the only reason why they come to school is for football. So I kind of have a little stake in that too, because if they don't have football or they're not on the team, then they're really not motivated. So I want to say, hey, if you want to be on the football team, I need you to come to school and I need you to strive to do this, I need you to do that. You can't be in trouble regardless of what you see other people do in the hallways. I need for you to be the example. I give you a small example. We have kids that they want to wear the earplugs in their ears, and I get on my football players all the time because I see regular kids with it in, and I tell them to put it out. But I see my football players with it, and I said, now, why would you do that if you know the rules? You should be the example to where other kids will see that you're not doing that, and maybe they'll follow suit. But if everybody's just doing it and just wait for me to say something, then it's a bigger problem. So just being involved in their lives and, from giving them rides home, giving them something to eat, or, just sitting down talking to them, you find out a whole lot. So you do become like a father figure or a figure in their life that they look up to. And, you get some successful stories and some stories are not as successful, but I guess it just comes with the job. It's just a lot. I love football. I love the game, but I guess I didn't realize getting into it that it's a whole different other side to it as far as the influence on kids and how you impact their lives. So I guess that's something that I didn't see, that now that I see that even being here today and having the opportunity to tell stories and thinking of stories and remembering things that happened with dealing with kids, like, wow, that just happened yesterday. And then we talking about it today. It's like, it's almost like it's awesome or it's something that I'm going through in life where I'm living through it now so that later on I'll be able to tell the story.
What about one thing in your mind that if it were implemented early in a child's life would keep them from a life of crime? What do you think that might be?
I think less social media for kids and video games for kids and would help in their childhood, and actually get back to talking to your kids and having family dinners and communicating at home and asking your kids, how was your day, and listening to them, listening to their problems or their thoughts or what even good things happened that day. I feel like now, a lot of families, get busy with, things on like Facebook or video games or things, that you do at home instead of actually talking and showing your kids love and going to the parks and playing and being involved and getting kids involved in sports, like football and different things like that, and getting them out of the house and involved in different things to teach them discipline and structure early on. I think that would really help, and actually like just communicating and talking to your kids and getting them, seeing how they're feeling about things. I feel like that would help them feel loved and wanted, and I think that's one big thing that would help kids from straying or from going, instead of being able to just talk to their family about a problem, sometimes they'll go somewhere else and get involved in negative things or talk to the wrong crowd, or if they're not feeling accepted at home, they're going to find a group at school that will accept them, and it might not be the best group, or it might not be the best group of people to hang around, and they'll feel love from someone else and start doing things they shouldn't do. So I feel like just really the family at home, loving their kids, accepting them, and communicating would be a great start young that would help them from going to different avenues for love.
Can I piggyback on
Sure,
that?
you go right ahead.
You touched on the idea of family time, basically. I gave my students an assignment to sit a formal place setting and have family dinner. Student came back and said to me, my son asked me who died. And I said, what are you talking about? She said, The only thing he could reference in terms of a family sitting down to eat together was a repast at a funeral.
Yeah.
So that's very important, the idea that family have family time. And she said from then on, she was gonna have one night a week where the family would sit at the dinner table and have dinner.
Yeah. You mentioned neighbors getting to know one another. Maybe it wouldn't be a bad idea for families to get to know each other. Right.
Exactly.
In the same house. Deron, you were nodding your head a lot with this getting to know each other and the communicating within the family. Do you agree with all that?
Communication is a key, because you could be living around somebody and not know what they got going on. You know what I'm saying? Like Coach was saying, them kids talking to me, it was gonna be like that. But you build a relationship with people you didn't even know because you had time to listen to them, and that's important. And like she said, I was just talking about this the other day. On the time family get together with somebody died. You know what I'm saying? They had a little thing going around on Facebook like, I'm this old and I'm this old. You saw that? Yeah. I said, man, I'm this old when family was family. You know what I'm saying? It was some real love. Them my cousins, my auntie. But you don't see them people till somebody pass.
Again, I just want to go back to, our whole, this nation was built on a Christian foundation, on a faith, a God foundation, and we're slowly chipping away that foundation where eventually this country's going to fall and it's going to implode. But, we get so hung up on a separation of church and state, and that's what I was just telling the coach a minute ago, is that, I guarantee you could call the churches within a couple of mile radius of his school, and you'd have all kinds of volunteers wanting to come in that school and be mentors and have programs for the kids, stuff like that. But as soon as you do that, you have somebody jumping up saying, you got to have separate. No, God can't be in school.
Yeah.
Man, we got to get past all that. That's what people ask me there about the jail. You know what? If you don't like me letting God in that jail, then don't vote for me next time. I need to move on down the road.
Well, we've had a wonderful discussion. We've had a lot of good food for thought. But we've also talked about some things that we can do for the least amount of money. And we've talked about some things that we do need funding. The first thing we said initially is that we need to implement love. All of these people need love, and they need sincere love. We talked about mentorships. I think everybody here has kind of embraced that. Where would we be if we didn't have mentors? I can think of 4 mentors in my life that had a real impact. And then we talked about church. The sheriff talked about the fact that there's church in the jail, and we need to embrace that. We also talked about taking a chance. The chance that you took with an inmate, bringing that person in, that's a story that needs to be told. But we don't hear about the good news as it relates to the criminal justice system. We only hear about the bad news. And I'm talking about us, aren't I? But that's okay.
Yeah.
We talked about taking pride. And when you take pride in your community, in terms of neighborhood cleanup, you should want to do that because that's where you live. Number one, it takes time to do that, and that's constructive time, but it's helpful. The other thing we talked about was social media. That's where we are today. And we see children with the phones as much as we see adults. But nothing takes the place of that face-to-face time that you give a child, that eye to eye. And so we're talking about children putting down the phones, but maybe we need to put them down as well so that we can talk to them about that.
That's all the time we have. This is a two-way street, by the way. Since this is on the internet, you can email us with your comments, your observations, and your suggestions. And maybe we'll revisit this same topic sometime in the future again. Thank y'all all for being here. Thank you to the Urban Sip for in letting us come in and take up one of their rooms and drink up their coffee with them down on Ferris Street, which is another success story here. So thank y'all for joining us, and tune in to WJTV 12, where we'll bring you more of that news, and we'll slip some good news in every once in a while too.
All right.